All right, so now I'm going to try this reverse environment diagram problem, which actually had a few requests for me to try. So yeah, haven't seen this problem before. Try to make it as realistic as I can while talking out my thought process. Okay, so generally for environment diagram problems, I always like to draw out the diagram myself. I don't really know if that would be necessary for this problem, but yeah, just like how I try to sort of form a solution before I look at the skeleton, it's always helpful to have your own diagram to compare side by side. Okay, so let's start in the global frame. We define the form fellowship function. And then we define Gandalf. Gandalf ends up being bound to the ring function. Okay, first of all, what is 1? So 1 is just the formal parameter for the form fellowship function. Okay, so I could just find that up here. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's also the first name that gets bound in the frame. So 1 is just group. 2. Okay, what is the formal parameter of the ring function? It's just adventurer. Parent is frame 1. That makes sense because this is defined within form fellowship. Okay, so that's just that would just be adventurer. Okay. So let me see. I'm gonna get ready to draw my own environment diagram. Okay, so I think this is probably where it's gonna get a little more interesting. We're gonna call the form fellowship function on some parameter. So let's see, can this be another function call? Probably not, because form fellowship is the first frame that opened, so if there's another function here, that would have opened up before form fellowship. They give us options. Oh, they do. Okay, so none of these are function calls. And then whatever the input is, it gets bound to the name group, and it seems that the input is just Frodo, Aragorn, and none, I think. Okay, so we're calling it with group. Calling it with group, and we're passing in Frodo, Aragorn, and none. So, okay, so now we're inside this function. We're going to define ring. Yeah, that makes sense. And we're going to return something. What is that? That's 4. Okay, so we're going to return something. So I see that within the form fellowship frame 1, we're returning this function ring. And then whatever this value is going to get bound back to Gandalf, and Gandalf is also pointing to this, so it seems that we're just going to return the ring function with no call, just the function itself. So 4 will be ring. Okay, what can go in number 3? So let me just complete out my diagram. Function ring, parent is equal to frame 1. The return value will also be this function. And then, oh, when do we actually get to 3? Okay, so we haven't actually hit this return yet, so I'm going to hold off on thinking about 3. Let me just clear things up a little. So 3 is going to come a little later down the line. So let's think about what happens at 6. So we've just executed this line. Now we're at sword. Sword is equal to, okay, in my global frame, it's equal to none. So is 6 just none? 6 is not none, it's a call expression. Okay, cool. So it has to be a call expression that returns none. What could have been called? I'll just look at the next frame. Okay, so next frame that opens is ring. So the call must have been to ring, and the input to ring was Aragorn, because that's what the formal parameter is bound to. So 6 is a ring of Aragorn. Okay. So once we call ring of Aragorn, we're gonna open up a frame 2. Ring. Okay, so everything's matching with my environment diagram so far. And we're gonna bind adventure to Aragorn. And let's see, what's in this function? Nothing, just a return value. Okay, so we're gonna return something, and that is 3. So let's think about what can go here. Okay, so let's just use process elimination for this. Let me think about what types I have for group and adventure. What is group? Group is over here. Group is a list, and adventure is a string. Okay, so I think immediately that we can't just add we can't add a list in a string. So no. Can I extend a list with a string? I also can't. It has to be list to list. Can I extend a list with a list? Yes, I can. Adventurer.extend. Adventure is a string. Okay, strings don't even have the extend method, so this can't be it. Nope. Group.append list append string. Yeah, that's fine to me. Group.append adventure. Okay, I guess that's fine. Adventure. Okay, again, string doesn't have any append methods. String, I can't add a string to a list. Okay, so that only leaves us with 1, 2, 3 options. And I guess now I have to consider like what side effects each of these statements would cause on my environment. Right, so all of these are going to return none. So I know no matter what's going to happen, my return value will be none. And then we're going to bind this value to whomever called it. So sword gets bound to none, which checks out right here. Am I done with everything else? I am not. Okay, then we have 7 and 8. Okay, so let's figure out what 6 has to be. So right now, so these are a bunch of list mutation functions. So regardless, no matter what here, I'm going to be adding something to my group list. Group list isn't in my current frame. It's actually up here, and currently I have Frodo and Aragorn and none. And then adventurer is also Aragorn. So it doesn't make sense to add on Aragorn again when my list already has Aragorn. No, but okay, but then that would just mean I would circle nothing, and I don't think they're gonna trick us that hard. So I probably want to be adding on adventure, but okay, so I want to add on Aragorn, but my list already has Aragorn. Where does this come from? This comes from number. That comes from this line, right? Whatever we passed in to form fellowship as the group value. So blank number 5. So is this right? So I guess it's not. Okay, so I guess it's not this. Because if I pass in this list from the start, then it doesn't make sense to later on go in and add another Aragorn. So this has to be like Frodo or something, or an empty list. Okay, empty list isn't an option. It has to be a list. And it's not this, because I don't want to add in Aragorn twice. And it has to be a list. Okay, so it's okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So, okay, so I think from the start, we were actually supposed to just pass in Frodo itself. And then I guess the point of the problem is that we're going to gradually add things to this list. Okay. So I wasn't supposed to just copy and paste this into 5. Interesting. Okay. Glad I caught that. Okay, so now that our list is actually just Frodo, I can add on Aragorn, right? So group is a list, dot extend Aragorn in a list, that's good. Group dot append there, a list append a string is good, will give me a list. Group dot append, this will give me a nested list, so that's bad. Okay, so just these two. And so right now in my current environment, I have Frodo and Aragorn, and I guess finally I just have to add in a none using the final line. So something is equal to 8. So this, I'm going to look in my current, I might look at my global frame. Ax isn't, I don't have an ax yet, so I'm going to say 7 is ax. And then I'm just going to bind it to something that returns none. So is 8 literally none or no? Okay, so none is not an option. It has to be one of these. Gandalf and sword. What is Gandalf and sword? Gandalf is the ring function, and then sword is just none. Okay, so I can't call none. Right? Nope. Gandalf. Okay, so Gandalf is the ring function. So, and then we're saying the ring function is either these two. And then I want to add on none to my list. So, okay, so regardless of what happens, frame 3 will also be ring. Okay, so this is all checking out with my actual environment. And then, okay, so they tell us that we want to pass in some value for none and just return none. None, return value. Okay. Is this multiple choice or multiple select? Okay, so it has to evaluate to none. So with, wait, no. Yeah. Okay, so this thing has to evaluate to none. So if I call ring of sword, what is sword? Sword is none. So if I call ring of sword, this will be good, and we're also going to return none. But I think we also need to add it, like, this isn't done yet. We need to add this guy in. So I think we probably need some list mutation function. So yeah, I think this looks good to me. Because we're going to pass this in and bind it to adventure. So adventure gets the none value. But we're also, as a side effect, adding in none, which completes my 3-element list. And then so now this matches. Okay, so I think at this point everything in my environment is matching. None. RV none, Aragorn, frame 1. Group ring, return value. Okay, yeah. I guess there could be more options. So I think it's just gonna be this one because I need to mutate the list. If I call ring of group and pass in the same, wait, does ring add it for me? No, ring. No. I messed up. Okay, so ring is going to add on the item for me, so I don't need to add it into the parameter. This just needs to be none. No, not this. This needs to be none. And then it's actually this line that's going to append it on. So I can pass in sword because sword is none right now. I don't want to do this because then I'll end up with 2 nuns at the end of my list. Gandalf of ring of group. What is group? Ring of group. Group is just list. I don't want to add that list onto itself. Gandalf adventure? I don't think there's an adventure in the global frame. Yeah, there's no adventure in the global frame, so I can't make that call. And I can also just literally pass in none as well. Okay. I think that makes sense. All right. Let's see how we did. Okay, we're back. So I did make one mistake. It was just that here. This should have been Gandalf, I think. So what number is that? That's number 6, right? So here, this should have been Gandalf, not ring. Like ring is the intrinsic name of the function, which appears in the frames because that's what Python is recognizing. But the bound name in the current environment that allows me to access that ring function is still Gandalf. So yeah, 6 should have been Gandalf of Aragorn. So yeah, a bit of a careless mistake there. I'm not going to call the intrinsic name, I'm going to call the bound name. But other than that, I don't think I got lucky and didn't make too many other mistakes. So I think the biggest takeaway from this problem and just environment diagram problems in general is that you always want to draw your own environment diagram to be sort of tracking your own progress. And at the end, you can just match it with what they give you. Well, for a reverse environment diagram, I guess. But yeah, like if I didn't have this, I would have messed up very bad because from the very start, I just input this whole list for number 5, but I didn't understand that like it would take the entire sequence of lines to mutate this list over time, as opposed to just passing in the whole list from the start. So it was because of my environment diagram that I realized that if I just pass this in from the start, I'm gonna get like a lot of like duplicates. I'm gonna get like Frodo, Aragorn, like that was just not the right way. I was only supposed to pass in Frodo from the start, and then these are actually added in, and I didn't make that realization until I drew out the environment diagram myself. Okay. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I think I talked through most of my thoughts. I think just hopefully demonstrates how useful process of elimination is, and just checking your types. Just if you're strong with your fundamentals, you can get through environment diagram problems. Yeah. All right, hope that was helpful.